Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18 plus.
Welcome to the Wrap Podcast, the place to catch up on all the regional and national rugby in Wales. You can find us on all the usual social media platforms and message us through there if you want, or you can email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. So all the boring stuff out the way, let's talk rugby. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Wrap Podcast with me, Lee G. Joining me as always is Reese and Jamie. Good evening, gentlemen.
Hiya, how's it going?
Evening. Hello.
Good. So we're missing Carwyn this week, but we've upgraded. So I mean, it's not difficult to upgrade Carwyn, let's be honest, but we have upgraded. And not only have we upgraded, this is an awesome upgrade because we've actually upgraded a previous guest from.
Oh. Robbie will like that, won't he?
Robbie's going to love that one. So those of you that remember a while ago, Robbie from Squidge Rugby joined us. We have Will from Squidge Rugby joining us as well this week. Good evening, Will. How are you?
Good evening. Very well. Thanks so much for having me on. At long last, I can't believe you put the other one first.
Yeah. He was desperate, though. He was banging on every week. Please, can I join? Please, can I be here? You know, is... he's going to rip us apart, mate, isn't he?
Enough bollocks now. Come on, let's go.
Yeah. You've got somebody who knows about the Ospreys this week, innit?
Yeah. That'll be an improvement. Right. So, as always, drink of the week. So, Will, do you want to join us for drink of the week? Do you have an interesting drink of the week?
I'm happy to join you on a drink of the week. I have done some thinking about what my drink of the week is, and it kind of fell into my lap. So, do you want to hear about it now or later?
Yeah, go on, do it now. Let's do drink of the week now. Go on.
Okay, so yesterday I, by a sheer kind of last resort booking, got roped into refereeing a game for the first time ever. So I made my refereeing debut yesterday, and I was probably pants. But, you know, people were quite nice to me afterwards. And I got bought a very unusual drink as a way of saying thank you for refereeing the game. So this is why it's perfect, Jamie, when you asked me to do drink of the week. I was like, oh, okay, there is the drink of the week. So I got offered, I'm literally checking this off my phone, how I say this. I got a Guinness with a shot of Frangelico liqueur into it. As a thank you as a way of saying thank you for refereeing a game, which I'm not really sure if that's a thank you or a punishment.
I say, if you're refereeing a game and somebody's offering to buy you a beer, that's I'd be very dubious. Drink this, ref.
Yeah. In the rugby club, we used to have Guinness and Tia Maria, and I used to taste like chocolate, so it might be really good.
Yeah, but you're renowned for drinking in some pretty dodgy places anyway, mate. So, you know.
A pretty dodgy drink this week as well. Yeah.
Well, so what's your drink of the week this week, mate?
Well, as the forfeit, which I didn't do last week, so apologies to the listeners and what have you. I have brought with me, it still exists. You know, listeners can't see it, but I'm holding it up to the screen, Baby Sham. I didn't know what this was really. I'd heard about it. I'd seen the 80s adverts. Well, I even remember them over my grandmother's. So I was looking in wine first. It wasn't in wine. I was looking in beers then. It wasn't in beers. And then, like, I went to ask a member of the Tesco staff, embarrassed, like I'm asking for a top shelf magazine. Like, he was like, do you have some Baby Sham? Like, do you mean and he looked me up and down and took me to the correct place. So thank you to the staff of Tesco's for helping me out in this on Western Avenue. And yeah, so Baby Sham, and I'm gonna have the first sip now. It's 6%. Like, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I don't think it was that strong.
And it's fucking awful.
That's the icing on the cake right there. We set the bar extremely low at the start of this episode, haven't we?
Can only get better from you.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, I was waiting for that reaction because I had it as a dare a couple of Christmases ago, and I had exactly the same stuff. Oh. It was it's how they sold so much of it beyond me. But there we go.
Whose drink of the week's going to be tap water? So we're upping the bar to 5 out
of 10. Jamie, what have you got, mate?
Well, look, it's been a while since I've had a Tiny Rebel drink, isn't it? Oh, yeah. I can't remember the last time I had one. So that's what I've got this evening. It's back, Tiny Rebel, and this flavour is peach iced tea.
Oh my God. Peach iced tea.
Peached iced tea IPA is 6%. Yeah. So this is part of the 11th birthday range. I love the artwork on this can. I know listeners won't see it, but really beautiful artwork. And it's just everything I want from a Tiny Rebel beer. It's beautiful, it's fruity, it's lovely. I think it's great. So yeah, peached iced tea IPA.
It's not beer.
What's it fucking is?
How can you peach and iced tea? Where's the fucking beer in that?
There's beer in it. It's a beer flavour with iced tea in it. It's fine. It's perfectly fine.
I'll take your word for it, mate. I'll take your word for it. Right, well,
bittersweet pale ale. That's what it says on the can. Bittersweet pale ale.
I'll have to get into some of these flavours. I gotta just.
I'm missing out. I mean, you're laughing and mocking me, but they're beautiful beers. They really are.
Yeah. You are still winning, Jamie. Out. Like, out the three of us.
No matter what you had, if you had muddy water, that would have been better than mine, isn't it? Yeah.
So. With mine, so I went across the shelf in Tesco's and came to I've got one more Brewdog left, and it wasn't until you guys said about alcohol percentage I thought I'll have a little look and see what the percentage on this one is, and this fucker's 8%.
Oh, steady on, Lee.
Yeah, I did. I probably should have checked that before.
8%.
It's called Arcade Made. It's a double dry hopped IPA, and I poured it about 15-20 minutes ago, and it still looks like orange squash. I don't think it's going to clear.
That's a misty pint there, boy. That's
cloudy as fuck, isn't it?
It does. If I do, I mean, this is going to go down well on a podcast. Like, you know, can you see through there like that? Yeah, I'm not looking forward to seeing this again tomorrow. I know that. So
you better take it easy tonight, Lee. I'm warning
you. Yeah, don't get abusive now.
I'll fight the lot of you. Come on, I'll have you now. You want to talk about that referee with a Scarlets game? Come on, I'll have the fucking lot of you now.
Oh, you can save that nonsense till later.
Right.
Oh dear.
Right, let's do some rugby news then. Let's start with some rugby news. So, who's staying and who's going? Who's got anything interesting to report?
I've got nobody new this week after after Dylan
What?
and Jared last week.
You have been paying attention, then, have you? Because
Have I not?
two players have been confirmed. So we know that Dane Blacker is moving from the Scarlets to the Dragons. We talked about that last week, and I'm very happy with that. I'm very happy with that signing because, as I said on the pod last week, before Gareth Davis sort of rediscovered his mojo and became good again, Dane Blacker was one of the form scrum halves in Wales. And he was first choice at the Scarlets. So I'm really happy about that signing. Now, of course, Dragons do need front five forwards. That's obvious. But when a player like him, is on the market and he's available, well, you've got to get him, haven't you? And like I said, if it means not having Lewis Jones around the squad, then that's even better. So, we got good depth now. We got Rodri Williams, so we got Gonzalo Bertrand. Hopefully he'll stay, and Dane Blacker. I think that's really good depth for scrum half.
It's a really good trio of scrum halves, that, isn't it? It's a great signing for the Dragons, and I think what he needs now, he's gotten a taste of the Wales squad. What he needs is somewhere he could potentially start for a region, and having the likes of Bertrand and Rodri Williams around him will definitely kick him on and hopefully make him that little bit more of a well-rounded player, which we know he's a very good player, and his try-scoring record kind of speaks for itself, and I really hope he can keep that while he's at Rodney Parade.
Well, of all of the scrum halves to leave, he'd be the one that we said we wanted to keep. When you talk to most fans, he's the one that Gareth Davis is in a good run of form, but he's at the end of his career. Kieran Hardy,
you don't rate him, do you?
He's not my favourite player. He's not, and he had one decent run on Friday night.
Good one.
But he's just too little too often for me. But we have got a couple of guys coming through the ranks, Harry Williams and Archie Hughes. So maybe the thinking is those are there to say. But a lot of Scarlet fans are gutted about losing Blacker.
You'd imagine Archie Hughes is hopefully going to get a lot of game time next season because he's been quality for the under-20s and deserves a shot, to maybe get promoted to the at least kind of third or thereabout choice scrum half, and that would be great to see him get some game time.
Well,
Absolutely.
we've got this theory with Archie Hughes that if you put him and Costello on the pitch together, people will start calling them the Milky Bar twins. And so we're waiting to see if that happens, and if it does, I shall be celebrating them. I'm going to get a big T-shirt, mate. Yay for the Milky Bar kids. So,
Oh dear. From a Dragons point of view, though, a halfback combination of Dane Black and Will Reed is very exciting.
Yeah,
it has a lot of potential if we have a good forward pack, of course.
I was about to say, if you have a front five to back them up, then.
Of course. But so that was confirmed. Also, Ryan Elias, he's staying at the Scarlets, staying in Wales. That's good news, Lee, isn't it? Must be pleased with that.
Again, it's you got Ken Owens there, and actually most of the hard work this year has been done by the guys that are coming through. So if he'd have gone, it would have freed up a lot more cash. But beggars can't be choosers. At least he's staying, and Ken is coming to the end of career. Another nasty injury, and that's it. He's gone. So we've got to be realistic about only certain amount of players are out of contract, and that's the time to make decisions. But again, I think we got strength and depth at hooker. If he'd have gone, it wouldn't have been a bad thing. But the more we can keep, the better. So yeah. So full. But we haven't signed anyone. Go on, mate. Go on.
If you're talking about keeping a Cardiff, the news of Teddy Williams, it didn't say who he's going to sign for, but I'm really fingers crossed as the best breakthrough player in our squad this season, and Josh Adams staying as well. So a bit of cutting edge on the wing. Again, we need to get the ball to him, so that's a different matter. But that's quite. I feel a bit more buoyed about things, for next season. A couple of those moves.
Well,
who could have blamed Josh Adams if he did go elsewhere? After everything he's been through and the amount of cash he would have been offered. So fair play to him, sticking by his guns and sticking at Cardiff, and he must be really enjoying himself there, which is a really good thing because I love Josh Adams and I just want the best for him after everything he has to put up with.
Yes, yes.
Well, he's got his 25 caps, hasn't he? So he could have gone, and like you say, the money that must be on the table for someone like him. They've either pulled out a really big check from somewhere, or like you say, he's really, really enjoying it, or a combination of the two. It'll be interesting, like you say, to see who they sign at 10 that is going to get him the ball. I think that's Cardiff's key bit. And you were saying, weren't you, James, about what's his name, Davis? I mean, everyone so far has been linked with outside half at the Cardiff. So, Patchell's been linked. Costello's not been linked. What's his name? What's our number 3 outside half? Played on Friday. Dan Jones. Yeah, there were rumours last week about Dan Jones was going to leave and Patchell was going to stay, and so all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
You mentioned Sam Davis there. Wales Online report today that Grenoble are leading the race to sign. And now Grenoble are in the Pro D2, but I think they're second in the table, aren't they? So there's, they could possibly get promoted. That'd be an interesting move for Sam. Maybe be doing good to get outside the Goldfish Bowl of Wales, because when he first left Ospreys, he had a lot of offers, didn't he, from England and France. He turned them down to come to the Dragons and obviously stay in contention for Wales. But this time, I think we could see him sort of move outside Wales. And I think that would be a good move for him, going to French rugby,
I think you're right. Like, it'll be good to see him pushed outside of his comfort zone, because I feel like him going from the Ospreys to the Dragons was meant to be that and hasn't really proven that way. And it's kind of, you get the impression that it's all been quite repetitive for him the last sort of 6 or 7 seasons. And so the chance for him to potentially go to the Pro D2 and have a scrap with Ross Moriarty week in, week out would, be a lot of a change for him. So we'll see. But if he ends up in the top 14, you could weirdly see him being one of those signings where you go like, I didn't expect that to pay off well, but he's playing really well over there, Like when La Rochelle signed like Ryan Lamb, and you're like, oh wait, that's weird, that's worked out. Like, why is he playing well for them now? And you look at it on paper and think that's just such a strange signing, but I could see it working.
Yeah. When Sam first came to the Dragons, he had no competition at all for his place. Yeah. And he was basically playing week in, week out. And on the one hand, yes, he was getting first team rugby, which he wasn't getting at the Ospreys. He sort of shunted as well as between 10 and 15. But what happens is, when you've got no competition for your place, you get complacent. Yeah. And they had no pressure on him. And some of his performances did dip. Whereas now, you look at the 10 position of the Dragons, we've got Will Reid, who is the future. We've got Angus O'Brien, and we've got JJ Hanrahan. So I think it's right now to sort of move Sam Davis on and put our trust in Will Reid, let him develop, and backed up by experience. I think it's the right time, and it will free up a bit of budget in the Dragons, which they desperately need to free up some budget. So I think it's a good move.
And did you see Wales Online reporting that Rhys Webb is trying to move back to France as well? That was out yesterday. I think that'll be a good move.
There's an update on that. So Rugby Rama, which is a French rugby news outlet, they're saying that he's very close to signing for Biarritz, which again is a Pro D2 team. So that'd be quite interesting, isn't it?
But that's the level that we're competing at. You look how many Scarlets players have gone to Pro D2. I think we lost 3. So it's not surprising, really. That's where the money is, isn't it?
That's what I said last week. People are saying, "Oh, it's a damn indictment of Welsh rugby. The players are going to the France second division." It's like, well, you got to go where the money is. And that's where the opportunity is. And if you want security for you and your family, you go there, don't you? You go. Yeah. You do it. Fair enough.
If they're willing to pay, then you go. I for one would love to see Rhys Webb fuck off somewhere else.
Yes, me too. Source: I've watched the Ospreys for the last 2 years.
It's just one of those things. I know Ospreys supporters love him and think the sun sets.
Some Osprey supporters.
Some Osprey supporters. But he just irritates the tits off me. So
I think Rhys Webb's one of those interesting ones where, like, it's good to have him every now and then, but when you're watching him every single week, he just gets annoying. So, like, I'm happy that he's now had his kind of renaissance with Wales, and like, I'm in a weird mood with Reece Webb at the moment because he was really good when he came in the Six Nations, like the latter end of it.
Yes.
I was like, oh right, yeah, so you're good now. And then I've kind of watched him again for the Ospreys and kind of like, oh no, but you are still pissing me off a little bit.
That's the thing about Reece Webb, though, particularly this season. There are some games he's been really, really good. And like you said, he's been great for Wales when he came in. And there is a conversation about him now being Wales' starting 9 in the World Cup, which would be mad to think, some time ago. And his other performances, he's just absolute dog shit. I can't make out what's going on with him. Do you know what I mean? He seems to be really, really good or really, really bad.
He's Reece Webb, mate. That's the way he is. That's love him or hate him, and yeah.
I do like Reece Webb. I should say that on record. I do. I know you rate him. Yeah, you're a turf, so that's obvious.
Yeah,
but I like Reece Webb.
He's going to become
like him.
He's going to become like people are going to be described like he's a bit of a Reece Webb,
Right. Let's move on to important stuff. Let's move on to the women's game on Saturday, which is difficult. Just when you look at the scoreline and you go, how can you take anything out of that game? But I don't know. I think the scoreline flattered England in some places. I didn't think it was. It's one of those games that you didn't feel like they were that far ahead, but they were quite obviously ahead, but not that far ahead, if that makes sense. What did you guys make of it?
You think? Well, you were saying, wasn't it? You was at Cardiff Arms Park, I believe. For this
it was amazing. It was amazing there. Like the atmosphere and everything was incredible there, and I'm so glad I went down despite the scoreline. But yeah, I think you're right that the first half going in 19-3 down felt so hard on us, and it felt like that was the bit where it felt like, oh, the scoreline flatters England here, because like there's so many moments in the game where England are 10% better than us, and over an 80-minute stretch that really starts to rack up. And in the second half, frankly, like the scoreline in the second half was completely reflective of how the game was, because we just simply didn't have an in, and that's not because our players weren't good enough. It's just because, as I say, every facet of England's game is 10-15% better than ours, and it just adds up. And it's frustrating because this Welsh team is, even after that game, noticeably better than we were 12 months ago.
Absolutely,
and even though it's a similar scoreline to what we faced against England last year, it feels like, we've not done ourselves justice by having that scored against us. But look, hopefully we can close the gap as the next couple of years go on. But you look at that Welsh team and you wonder how many players would get into the England side. And I think you're looking at 2 or 3 maximum at the moment. And granted, we've got injuries and, players unavailable for various reasons. But yeah, it's frustrating. But the first sort of half hour or so was absolutely fantastic. And I think if Abby Dowd doesn't cross for that try on the stroke of half time, we're looking at probably 30 rather than 50. And Wales having a bit more momentum in there. But I think that just killed us off and changed Cunningham's half-time speech entirely.
Mind you, if she didn't cross just before then, my fantasy league team would have been even more shit than it actually was. So, but I think the good thing was that when we covered like the first women's game the season. We said, we carry on like this next season. They're gonna fill out Arms Park, and that happened, this year. And quite comfortably, if there'd have been a couple of extra 1,000 seats, I'm willing to bet that they would have been sold as well. So, the interest is there in the game from the public. I think this year particularly, it's caught a lot of people's interest. And for those players on the pitch and those trying to, make the side, that can only be a good thing. That gives you that little bit of oomph, doesn't it?
Yeah. And like after the last World Cup, Young Cunningham came out and said we're a much better side for the fact we've played the Black Ferns twice, even though we lost those games. I think it's clearly this coaching group work really well with games like that highlight exactly where we are, and hopefully, as with the W15 thing coming up, hopefully we can get into a position where, we hopefully beat Italy at the end of the Six Nations, which will be really tough after England and France on the bounce. And we can really test ourselves against the best and really try and narrow that gap, because we're already seeing that there's a gap starting to form between us and the likes of Ireland and Scotland. And hopefully we can just hop over the fence and get to the other side of that.
Yeah.
But then it comes down to money, doesn't it? It comes down to, England are paying substantially more for their players, and I think they've got 30 players now, fully professional in England. Or is it more, less?
I think they've got 31. However, so they've had that in place for a number of years now. I think sort of 4 or 5 years they've been fully pro, a squad of 30 plus. However, Nigel Walker, the absolute hero that he is, put his money where his mouth is and just saw, all right, how many players, professional players have England got? 31. All right, sound, we're going to give 32 contracts out to Welsh players. And I love that shithousery from Nige.
Yeah. Fair play.
We are only a year down the line of that, so...
Yeah, and
it's already paying dividends, though, isn't it? Like we've been talking about on the pod, isn't it? The sheer physicality of the Welsh side over the past few games, and even in that England game, like it took them a while to really sort of break down. Was it like it wasn't until like 25, 35 minutes that they really started to tell by scoring a load of goals against us, and that's testament, isn't it, to the fact that how we can now train and bulk up and do that strength and skills training.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't see the game live because I was at the football on Saturday, so I'm checking my phone. And every time I'm checking my phone for the score, England kept scoring. So like I'm not checking the phone anymore now. Just leave it there.
Because it's all down to you.
It's all my fault, yeah. So I saw the final score and I was like, ooh, that's a bit of a battering. But then when I got home, I did watch the game. And yeah, to be fair, I mean, the first 35 minutes of that game, Wales were very competitive and they gave a very good account of themselves. And they were on top in the scrum. They were working really hard in the loose. But I think the second half, we really did get blown away. But I have to say, I was disappointed with Wales's defence, particularly in our second half. I just felt there were some of the tries, and don't get me wrong, they were fantastic tries, they were well taken, but some of the one-up tackling, was a bit soft and there were just too many missed tackles. And I looked at the stats afterwards. So England missed 8 tackles. Wales missed 36 tackles. I mean, you can't miss that many tackles, well, can you, against a world-class outfit like England?
And you're absolutely right that we, in the first 2 games, used our defence as our kind of main real weapon, a way of forcing errors against Ireland and Scotland. And to have it then really easily broken down. And again, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a player error kind of situation or even a system error kind of thing. I just think England are so much quicker into shape than we are that they're always going to run us ragged.
Yeah.
But it will come.
Because I don't want to say it was like a wake-up call or a reality check, but I do think it is a reminder that although Wales have made really big strides, there's still some way to go before we can seriously challenge the likes of England, France and New Zealand.
For sure. I will add as well, Georgia Evans was absolutely fantastic on Saturday and worked to absolute socks off. And I felt so sorry for the fact that, just everything, England's, line out and scrum and everything is what we're used to them absolutely dominating in. And when we've got the likes of her and Cecilia Tuipulotu and so on, still playing so well. And then suddenly their backs are the ones shining at this point. It just feels undefendable.
Yeah. Oh, they're so good, England, don't they? They really are. They're best of the world for me. They're outstanding. Yeah.
So, how are we going to cope against France? They say it's a back-to-back against France, and ideally, you want to split those 2 games somewhere through the season, don't you? You don't want to play them back-to-back. But how do you beat France, and how do you pick yourself up from that England game in order to beat France? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a difficult one again. I think if we can get on top of them on the scrum, we'll have a way into it. I think being away from home might take its toll on us, sort of around maybe the 50, 60 minute mark. But if it was at the Arms Park, I'd fancy a chances to give them a real game. I think we need a little bit of perspective because we've come away from those 2 games against Ireland and Scotland and gone, let's give France a real go. Whereas actually at the start of the tournament, before those games happened, we're probably saying to ourselves, if we give France a good half, then that's a huge step in the right direction. And I think we probably need to kind of remember that that's where we've come from and see what we can do against them. And as I say, like, the test is really if we can give France a game and then win in Italy the next week. I think that's going to be the real test for us.
See, your problem there, Will, is that you've gone back to reality, and let's put perspective on this, and let's give
Wales by 50.
That's the boy. Yeah. There we go.
Now you sound more like Carwyn.
Now you sound more like Carwyn. Yeah. I think Carwyn's prediction for the England game was it'll be tight, it'll be close, but we might just sneak this one, So we've got to keep that level of optimism in there somewhere, haven't we?
Love it.
Can I just ask Will a quick question? Because I'd like to get your take on what Simon Middleton said, the England coach, about changing the goal kicking laws. He said they were unfair and they should be taken short in field. What did you make of that, Will? Do you think he has a point? Or
no, I don't. in a sense, I am, really unqualified to answer this question because I'm a man who is the absolute most horrific goal kicker you will ever see in your life. But I do think, goal kicking in rugby, the art of standing on the touchline, putting your foot on this piece of leather, getting it to go above the crossbar on that funny little shaped goal and between the posts, is meant to be a really difficult skill. It's not meant to be easy, so we shouldn't be trying to make it easier. It's a good thing that often in men's internationals, we do have players who are capable of doing that. But ultimately, as long as everyone's on a level playing field in the women's game, it ultimately doesn't matter. And also, Simon Middleton is the least likely person who would have a reason to say that, because he's got Emily Scarrett, who's a world-class kicker. He's got Zoe Harrison's a world-class kicker. Emma Singh coming through, was nailing touchlines on the weekend. Lagi Tuima can knock them over from miles away. He's got the most brilliant goal kickers in his squad. Helen Rowland as well. He's got so many great goal kickers in his squad, which no other team in the women's game has other than him. So why he's bringing it up is very strange to me.
Yeah, and have you noticed the TikTok Women Six Nations Twitter account, ever since he's made those comments, keep posting touchline conversions of various players? Have you noticed that? That's great, isn't it? That's proper shit out. I like that one.
Yeah, I love it.
Quality.
So let's talk about the France game on Saturday then. Do you think there'll be any changes? Do you think it's time to rest a couple of people, bring some new people in, bring some experience, or give people some experience? What's your thoughts, Will?
Hopefully we'll have Karen Lake and Karis Williams-Morris coming back in. Not Morgan Williams, that's me going full Ospreys mode there. Karis Williams-Morris coming back in would be a huge boost for us. I think Williams-Morris definitely will come back because she was just away playing for the RAF at the weekend in a final. Karen Lake, I think, is a little bit more touch and go because we don't really know quite what the nature of her injury is. I would quite like to see, in normal circumstances, what Niamh Terry could do at fullback. I think Courtney Keats been playing perfectly well, ball in hand, but it's been found out defensively once or twice. But the thing is, bringing somebody in for their first game of the campaign out in France doesn't historically bode well. So I back the majority of the lineup that has been picked, in the first three games so far. And I'd like us to build some continuity and to be able to say to them, you know what, we had a rough game on Saturday, but we can go out and do that again, and we can give France a real game. So I don't think we ought to panic and kind of roll the dice too much on selection. I think that we know we've got great players in that team, and hopefully, just a couple of players who got ruled out of the previous game, hopefully will come back in. But otherwise, I'm not too keen to panic and jump at new selections.
Well, talking of selections, let's have a little run down the Women's Fantasy League. Let's start at the bottom. Let's start at the very, very bottom. Take me a while to get to the bottom here now, Reese. Let's have a little look. There you are, Reese, at the bottom. At the very bottom. The only person that's below you is my duplicate account that somehow managed to enter a team without me actually entering it. And I'm willing to bet if I had a go at it next week on my duplicate account, I'd overtake you fairly quickly on that one. So that's very good of you to be propping everybody else up, my friend. Carwyn in 17th. on 2,057 points. I'm in 10th on 2,350. Jamie, you're in 8th. You dropped a couple of places.
I had a shocker. Yeah, I dropped 4 places. I went from 4th to 8th.
Yeah.
Shocking.
So you're on 2,557. And then top 3, as always, Joe Saracens, Dice Rebels, and James, or D's Rebels, sorry, and James swap places. Joe Saracens, I reckon, I don't know who Joe Saracens is, but I reckon they've got some kind of hack or something, because they've been a mile ahead of everyone since the
start.
They
might just know women's rugby better than all of us, Lee. It could just be that.
Oh, you and your reality. You and your...
Oh, she's flying, isn't she? Fair play.
Yeah,
she knows her stuff.
Yeah. Oh, lad, I'm currently I'm top of a league which just consists of me, my brother Robbie, and my mum. I'm top of that league. So
please tell us your mum's ahead of Robbie. Is your mum ahead of Robbie?
Unfortunately not. But she forgot to pick a team this round, so clearly that's why she's behind Robbie.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
It's see, I love that. I love the fact that mums get involved and pick sides. Like when you do your family league, and then your mum will pick something like my wife picked one last year with like who's got the best sounding names, and and she beat me, and you spend hours going through and doing it, and she's gone, oh, he's got a pretty name, I'll put him in there. Totally taking the piss, and she beat me. So
my mum picks people she thinks is nice. You know, she goes on television. Oh yeah, he's a nice guy. So like, it was a real relief when Bundy Archie played really well for her in the last round of the Six Nations, the men's Six Nations. It's just massive fan of Bundy Archie, you know.
Right. Right. Let's talk men's rugby for a second, then, gents. Let's talk about the boring stuff. Let's go through chronological order. So Jamie, Dragons kicked off 30 seconds before Scarlets did, so you get to go first this week, mate. Go on.
Oh, lovely. Get to talk about another Dragons defeat. Marvellous. Well, this is what I'm going to say about it. So if you look at the scoreline and you hadn't seen the game, it'd be very easy to think, oh, same old story, Dragons got battered, etc., etc. However, it wasn't quite like that, because what I will say, compared to the last 2 performances against Ospreys and Glasgow, this was a million times better. This was actually a performance where, for the first time in a little while, I could actually take positives from, because I couldn't do that against Ospreys and Glasgow. And, you know, Dragons did start well. It was us who got the first score after like 7 minutes. And you think, oh, this could be a long night, you know. And credit to the Dragons, they responded really well. Tane Basham was excellent. He was in full-on, fuck it, I'll do it myself mode. He was absolutely everywhere. He made a lovely line break, got tackled, did a pass off the floor.
That was gorgeous.
It was absolutely beautiful. And it was nice to see. It was genuinely top-class skills. We're level then, and you're thinking, okay, you know, maybe we can be a bit competitive in this game. And of course, Ulster do what they do, you know, their forward pack on top of us. Scrum failed yet again. Fed up of saying it, but the Dragons cannot scrum for toffee. It's becoming a huge problem. We can't defend driving lineouts. You know, we conceded a couple of tries, and you know, you go into the second half with 26-7 down, and you're thinking, oh, this is going to be another blowout again. And then suddenly we score 2 tries in 2 minutes from Elliot Dee and Roger Williams. And in the last quarter of the game, we're like a fucking score behind Ulster. Like, how has this happened? We're actually a score behind Ulster. And the crowd was starting to get a bit edgy, you know. You could sense things were starting to turn. Of course, it didn't last long because Ulster got on top, didn't they? And they killed the game off, and they had a penalty try right at the end. Because Ashley Hewitt, you know, knocked on and got yellow carded. He had a pretty bad game. I love Ashley Hewitt, but he had a pretty bad game. So it's an ugly scoreline, but actually there are positives to take from this performance. So when you consider the shambles in Swansea against the Ospreys and the Roy Anderson style tragicomedy up in Glasgow, there is actually something to build on. And, Dave Flanagan did come out and say, we were much better. And he said it was a step forward, which a lot of Dragons fans didn't like him saying that, they were quite critical. Oh, give you a step forward, we got battered again. But I wouldn't have used those words, a step forward, but I could see where he was coming from, because given the shite that we've seen this past month, this was a credible performance. And more importantly, the Dragons were competitive. So, something to build on going into Judgment Day. I know the scoreline looks pretty ugly, but this was a lot better from the Dragons.
And those 3 tries, like the Basham try was just like that piece of skill that.
A or B's try, yeah.
And then the next 2 tries in the 2 minutes. One, what I liked about it was one was from the backs and one was from the forwards. And D's try was bringing it down and then running for the line. And then Roger Williams won it. A try was just class. It was wicked the way he just.
Did any of you see Rodri Williams' line-out throw?
Yes.
Did any of you see that? Oh, how
ridiculous overthrow! It's incredible.
So Elliot D got yellow carded, and Rodri Williams went to take the line out. And instead of going over the head the usual one, he did an underarm throw. It went straight over the top of the line out. It went into the centre's hands. Oh, what's his name? I can't think of his name. Oh, Ross.
Owen?
No, it was Ross. It was Jared Ross was playing for it. It went straight over and into his hand. It was beautiful. I did retweet it on our Twitter account. It was just a beautiful piece of skill. It was tremendous. That was nice to see as well. Like one of the few highlights.
Rodri Williams auditioning to be both Wales' starting hooker and fullback inside about 20 minutes.
He should have had more caps for Wales, though. I stand by that. I say to people,
now Black is arriving, he can convert positions.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But did you see Halfpenny's comments on Ulster's driving maul tactics? He says that's the sort of thing that's kind of killing the game from an entertainment point of view. I got to say, I mean, I'm a forward. I used to enjoy a good ruckus at the front there, but I agree with him. It doesn't add anything to the enjoyment of the game unless you're an Ulster knuckle dragger going, kick it to the corner and then drive it on 30 meters, whatever. It's not. It doesn't have the excitement, the enjoyment, the creativity of a free flowing, passing the ball and all that kind of stuff.
But it is effective, though, isn't it? It's very effective.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say, the Dragons need to stop letting hookers score past them, because we had Johnny Matthews scoring 5 tries up in Glasgow, and we had that bloody O'Connor scoring a hat-trick. Like, what is it with hookers? At Judgment Day, are we going to see Ken Owens get 4 tries or Ryan Elias get 6? I mean, what the fuck is going on? Like, why do hookers love scoring
from deep? Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have a driving line out from the halfway. Let's go for it.
It probably does speak a lot about the Dragons maul, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That you joke, but
yeah.
Well, we can't defend a driving line out. We can't. That's clear, and that's a big problem. But
But that's definitely where you need to recruit this front row. Is 2 decent props that are going to scrummage, not give penalties, and not get yellow carded.
But listen, fans keep saying what you're saying now, right? And it's not like the Dragons haven't tried. Because let's not forget, you signed bloody Rodri Jones from the Ospreys, who I think's been decent, actually. We signed Rob Evans from the Scarlets. Remember him? Remember Rob Evans, anyone?
Yeah.
What a disappointment, by the way, that has turned out to be. I'm really gutted, because when we signed him from the Scarlets, I thought it was a really good sign at the time. It felt like a bit of a coup, But I don't know what's happened. It's just... I don't know whether it's the player himself or the curse of the Dragons, but it just hasn't worked out. Yeah. And we have tried to recruit our front row. With Bradley Roberts in there, and we brought Matthew Screech in second. We have tried to bolster the front 5, but it's not working.
It's not working, is it?
It just doesn't work. I think Meffin Davis might have to leave. I do think Dave Flanagan next season, he's got to look at his coaching staff, because let's not forget, these are still Dean Ryan's men.
Yeah,
and I think he needs to be allowed to shape his own coaching staff. Simon Cross, defence coach. I think our defence has been horrendous. The second half of the season, he might have to move on and Luke Narraway and Methven Davis. I do think Dye needs a bit of a clear out on that front, I'm afraid. So be interesting to see what happens next season.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on Methven Davis. That he's a guy that was a superb player, and he's had elements of developing superb scrums, but it just comes to a time where sometimes as a player you need to move on, you need a fresh challenge, you need different grass underneath your feet, and maybe that's the time for Methven now. But I don't know who you'd bring in. There's no obvious candidate as a...
Well, I mean, who do you bring in? Because obviously we haven't got money to go out there and buy a world-class forwards and defence coach. So secondly, who wants to come to the Dragons? And I'm not saying that to be funny. Well, I wish. I'd have him. I'd happily have him. But who's going to come? It's difficult, isn't it? The Dragons are not an attractive proposition. So
I heard Leo Cullen might be free next season.
Wouldn't that be nice? Yes. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
See what it is with a reason with no money, like, rather than...
Yeah.
So, same time as Dragons are playing, Scarlets were playing in a very, very different... Did you see the rain? Did you see how much fucking rain was coming down? You get used to it at the Scarlets. You go watch a Scarlets game, and it's the first thing you do. You look over the top and you can see it coming through the floodlights, and it's pissing down, and you're going like, oh, okay, we're on home ground here. This is it. We're sorted. And it just tonked it for at least the first 40 minutes. I kind of got a little bit of sympathy for some of the players, because it was just, do you know what I mean? It was heavy. I know it was a plastic pitch, but the ball still gets skiddy, and it's just one of those things. And I thought we played okay, but we just didn't look like scoring a try. Other than Fafita, which I still maintain that ball was out, and then he put his foot back over it. But fuck it, I don't care what the referee says. But other than that, we didn't look like creating stuff. Do you know what I mean? We looked competitive. We looked like we were doing stuff, but we weren't dominating, and there was nowhere there that you're thinking, we're cutting them through the centres, or we're driving every line out, or, there was nothing there that really said to me that we were going to score tries, whereas Glasgow did. So, I thought Fafita's try was just superb.
He's great, isn't he? He really is.
Gas.
Imagine.
Yeah.
You're looking up, right? You're in the opposition 22. You're looking up, and their second row's picked up the ball and gone for a bit of a trot, and you're the winger, and you're going, I've got him. He's a second row. He's got a number 4 on his back.
Looks like he's jogging as well.
Yeah, he does.
Yes.
He never looks like he sprints. It's mental. Like, the fact that, as you say, like, the Scarlets never really looked like, from structured play in those conditions, they were going to score. And it says a lot about how the game was going, that, your best try scoring opportunity is 70 minutes in, your second row picks up the ball inside his own 22 from the floor and just sprints the distance. Like, how many games is that the case for?
But I tell you that, people talk about athleticism and, having a big bulky second row and then having an athlete in the back row. Well, that guy is an athlete. He's a big, bulky, fast. He's everything you want of a rugby player. He's like him and Tad Byrne in the second row. And, man, you could just sit there and just go, oh, okay, this is what I want to see, But it's just perfect. Watching him on the pitch, it's a pleasure to watch him on the pitch. But we're just... I already get the feeling that we're relying on him too much. Him and Lousy, and we know we're not going to keep him after next season. He's on his contract isn't up this season, thankfully, but we've got to make the most of him while he's here, sort of a thing. But yeah.
I will admit as well, because those two games were on at once, the Dragons and Scarlets one, and I opted with the Scarlets one live, and it was weird because I kind of looked at Ulster scoring loads of tries, so I didn't have the context of what you were saying earlier, Jamie, of the Dragons' performance itself, that was really dogged and they were really in it the whole way. And I looked at that and thought, fair play, I've made the correct decision here. Even though this is the most low-scoring game in history, I'm pretty happy with my choice. And then the Fafita thing happened, and it's like, oh, okay, there is something really significant about what's going on right now.
I think the difference is, though, that Glasgow are fourth in the league, and we were there and we were competing with them. All right, we weren't dominating them, but we were competing them. If we'd have been playing like that for the first half of the season, we would, how different would this year be? If we'd just.
Scarlets made 11 changes as well, Lee. So I think when you consider the amount of changes they made, they were very competitive, and they did push Glasgow quite hard. But what I would say about this game, I do think this game was overshadowed by some dodgy officiating. And, look, it's a tough job being a ref, but there were some really baffling decisions. I mean, we talked about the Fafita one, but, Sam Johnson's hit on Kieran Hardy, now that should have been a yellow card. It was high, it was contact with the head. Nothing given. A penalty was given, but there was no card, and that should have been yellow. And then for Fraser Brown's try, which proved to be the match-winning try, that line-out was not bloody straight whatsoever. It was an absolute joke. It was nowhere near straight. Nothing's given. It was an absolute joke. And I do laugh at Welsh Rugby Twitter because they do like a good URC refs conspiracy theory, don't they? and I quite enjoy scrolling through Twitter. Oh, Spent is corrupt, it's Irish, and all this, police and all this. And when you see performances like that from officials, you can understand why they're pissed off. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't buy the conspiracy theory nonsense, but I could understand why Scarlets fans were really miffed at the officiating, because I actually think they were really hard done by on a few of those decisions, I'm afraid.
Well, the one that pissed me off was Steph Evans's kick to the 50-22. And you're like, was that a 22? Did it bounce over the 22? No, couldn't have done that. They'd given it to Glasgow. And then he give them a line out inside their own fucking 22. Are you going, ref? Excuse me. You're like, so, yeah, I was actually very controlled with the ref. I thought the one where he tried to decapitate Hardy I thought that was worthy of a red. My first bit on that. Because Hardy was going down. That was his only mitigation, was Hardy was being tackled, but he came over with a proper one, and there was intense.
It had to be a card. You could argue whether it's yellow or red. Definitely. It had to be a card, and it wasn't. And I thought that was pretty poor, if I'm honest. Really poor.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you've been so calm now.
I tell you, mate, this 8% beer is kicking in.
What having you down? Like?
I'd be asleep in 10 minutes. But. The one player that I do want to give a shout out to is Ewan Shenton, who I've been looking forward to seeing him play for quite some time now. So he's just come through. It's his first season with the Scarlets. He came through Bucks League. So he was with Cardiff Met. He's Cardiff Met captain last year. For him to come into that side, and he gave a good account of himself in the back row against Scottish internationals, against a guy playing his last game at home for Glasgow and all of that kind of stuff. I thought he gave an absolute, superb performance. He's one of those players that I've been itching to get onto the park through the season, and one thing and another. I think he had 20 minutes against Ulster at home or something like that. So yeah, I thought he did well. Tuipulotu, I thought he did quite well again.
Yeah.
And our centre, I keep forgetting, Johan Nicholas. Dwayne Peel absolutely loves this guy and rates him really, really highly, and he's really starting to show why. I think he's just going to be one of those utility. He's unfortunate where he can play anywhere from 10 to 15, and so he's always on the bench as cover. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's the definition of one of those players who will never make a Welsh squad or anything, but will always be the Scarlets B team captain. When all the internationals are away, he'll hold everything together in the back line. It's probably not helped by the fact that his hairline's been back there since he was 18, and he's looked like he's the experienced head in the squad since he was a child. And so clearly they've just assumed, oh yeah, you've got 100 caps already for the Scarlets, don't you? And he's going to be there forever. He's never going to move clubs.
Yeah, he's
definitely. He's good defensively.
Yeah,
he's so true, lads.
Yeah. So let's move on to Saturday then, and let's start with the shite that was the Ospreys, and then we'll move on to the shite that was Cardiff. So what did we make of the Ospreys getting their arse rammed firmly up their head by Edinburgh?
They're also rammed up the head, yeah. Which, to be honest, I don't disagree with.
I'm telling you, this stuff is kicking in, boys.
Kicked it already, isn't it? Oh dear, the arse rammed up the head.
You know what I mean.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. And you know what? You were spot on the first time. But yeah, like the Ospreys well and truly looked like they weren't in that game. I missed it live because I was on my way home from the Arms Park, but like it looked like they got bullied up front quite a lot. And was it bonus point inside sort of 20 odd minutes? Edinburgh got, and yeah, it's not a good look for the Ospreys. And even if they had a little bit of a kind of rallying period, it's not what you're hoping for off the back of, getting knocked out of Europe and hoping for a big performance on Judgment Day. And looking forward ahead to next season. It's not a good look.
If they could throw the ball like that in front of our defensive line next week, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
But they did for a side that has built its season on the front five and a fairly dominant display up front. It just, I don't know, it reminded me of Cardiff away in Italy last year. Do you know what I mean? It just felt like they weren't, they didn't want to really compete. Edinburgh aren't a strong side. Edinburgh are not like a top side, and they certainly shouldn't be putting that much over the top of the Ospreys,
No, they shouldn't. And I have to say, I wrote this onto it as well. I think out of all the Welsh results this weekend, I think Ospreys was by far the most surprising and the most disappointing, because I actually backed them to go up there and get the job done. And this was a much needed win, must-win game. They had a strong team out. 10 of their starting 15 were Welsh internationals. So there's no excuses. They knew they had to win going into Judgment Day to put the pressure on Cardiff. And they just completely shit the bed. I mean, they were awful. Really, really poor. And we know Ospreys are better than that. Yes, Edinburgh are a good team. They're well coached. But, they've sort of had a difficult season themselves, Edinburgh. They've sort of tailed off. And I felt this was a really big opportunity for Ospreys to go up there, get a win, put Cardiff under pressure, because I never felt like Cardiff were going to win in Connacht. I just didn't. I didn't give them any chance. If they win that, they're in a good position now going. No, I didn't. they're in a good position now going to Judgment Day, whereas now they've got to beat Cardiff by a bonus point and deny Cardiff any match points from it. So they've got it all to do now. And it was just such a really disappointing, meek performance, for a must-win game. Just not good enough. Really, really poor.
You look at that first Darcy Graham try, and it's brilliant on a highlight reel, but you never see that scored in a tight game where the two teams are actually competitive with each other. The fact the Ospreys fell asleep on that quick tap. And you do get tries like that second Darcy Graham try, which do happen, they broke down the defence genuinely. But stuff when George North threw that pass to Buffelli, the intercept.
Oh, you could see it a mile off, couldn't you?
Yeah.
As soon as you threw it, you just knew he was going to be intercepted.
And just straight away, his body language just realised he's screwed up.
Yeah. I tell you what I did enjoy, though, from this game. The highlight for me was Alwyn Jones kicking the shit out of the advertising hoarding. I don't know if you saw that, but I did quite enjoy that. Did you see that?
I didn't know.
Oh, he just got frustrated and he decided to put his fucking boot through the advertising hoarding.
Was it an electric one? Was it an LED one?
No, it wasn't. No. Can you imagine that?
Whatever company is being advertised, though, their stocks are falling this week.
Yeah, very, very disappointing from the Ospreys, I'm afraid. Very disappointing.
I say, with one game left going, they actually had something to play for. All right, they've been knocked out of Europe, but they had something to play for. So they can't be a lack of motivation. Like Dragons, no offense to Dragons, Jane, but there isn't really that much to play for in the season. You're playing for your contracts for next year. That's about it.
That's literally the same as every season. You've just described every single season for the Dragons.
The second game in.
But season's over for next season. I get it. So this year the Dragons.
But do you know what I mean? The Ospreys, there was a motivation there. There was a reason to play. There was, you've had some decent games this season. You've got something to play for. You've actually got quite a bit to play for that entry back into Europe next year. I don't get it. The players just looked flat. They looked.
Yeah.
I can't put my finger on it, but they looked flat, and yeah, that's not something that should happen in a professional side. Yeah, it just shouldn't.
No.
Yeah.
Watch him bounce back next week, though.
This is what I'm worried about from a Scarlet's point of view, mate. I said it a couple of weeks ago, James. I said the one bit I'm worried about is that Dragons will fuck up the whole season and they'll come to Judgment Day and then they'll have...
It happened before.
Yeah, I know. It happened
in the last Judgment Day. And I quite like the fact that you're worried about the Dragons. That is giving me some enjoyment. So let's be honest, it would be funny as fuck if the Dragons did beat Scarlets, wouldn't it? It absolutely would.
Oh fuck! I'd be off the week after. I'm not doing the pod.
Podcast.
I'll clear my calendar.
Yeah. Next week's pod is Jamie on his own, just talking for 2.5 hours about how good that 80 minutes was. So let's have a chat about the Cardiff game then, Reese.
Must we? Yeah, okay. I've been saying that every week now, isn't it? Like when we get to my game. As Jim was saying, I did give us a hope, and I was hoping that we were going to go out to Connacht and at least, play for the jersey, play for the boys, play for everybody's gone through a difficult time. And they scored every which way you can. They scored through the forwards, the opening try, just... Not much was done in that back line, just a lot of out the back passes, and it just cut through our line straight away on the 12th minute for that winger's try. We've had a penalty try against us at 16th minute. I think both of them went off. And if you have a look at the stats as well, I'm not sure if you've gone and looked at it. So it was, we had 55% possession. Defenders beaten 19 to their 17. Territory 62% of territory. Tackles, we missed 17, which is unforgivable, but they missed 19. And we're still having our backsides handed to us in the first half an hour. You mean?
So after all that, what you're saying is Cardiff was still shit.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Somehow, you still made Caelan Blade look like Aaron Smith.
Oh, yes. East Walian side at the moment, isn't it? It's difficult. But I got to give him a little bit of respect for the comeback. Thomas Young, even though he got yellow card, I think was the reason for the penalty try. We came back and scored some good tries. That very last try with Thomas Young. It's nice to see him coming back to a bit of form after being out for a while. There was things we can take from it, but it's just I just felt so dejected at the end of it. And now going into Judgment Day, I really hope if you can't G yourself up for Judgment Day against the Ospreys, I know it's at the Principality Stadium, but in Cardiff, that I don't know what you can do. So very disappointed, bitterly disappointed. I thought our pack was just shunted a little bit, even though we scored some good tries with Zeb Davis and Thomas Young through them all. But yeah, where we go on for next week, and I'm back to the blind optimism.
Thomas Young's needed a bit of form, hasn't he? I think it's really good to see him having moments like that. Him and like both him and Jim Botham are probably outside of the shop window for Gatland at the moment, when they're both kind of really hyped up and correctly so players. And when Thomas Young first announced his move back to Cardiff, I think everyone was expecting him to just straight away dominate the entire league, and it's not quite worked in that way. But hopefully he can kick on from this as we go into Judgment Day.
If it's any consolation, I was going to say that he was 12-0 in the second half. So you can take some positive from that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But
I mean, small crumbs. I mean, clutching the straws here, but it was 12-0 in there.
That's what we do on this podcast, though, isn't it?
Yeah, got to find something.
Especially me.
We're a lot better than we was in September. Yeah.
Well, I was having a look at some videos earlier today, right? And I think I've worked out why Thomas Williams has lost some of his form, right? Now, bear with me, because I look at the stuff last season and he was great and there was fast flowing. And in this season, moustache. That is where
it's weighing him down.
There's something in the moustache, whether it's tickling his nose and he's sneezing every time he picks up the ball, or whether every time he goes to pick up the ball, he looks at his reflection and he goes, "That's a handsome bastard." Then he loses a second or two. I don't know, but when he didn't have a moustache, when you look at his highlights reel, no moustache, fucking amazing. Moustache. There's nothing in his highlights reel that's got a moustache. I'm telling you now, it's his moustache. Get rid of the moustache.
Someone needs to tell Gatland then, don't they? We need to have a word with Gatland and tell him this.
And this is the level of analysis you can find on.
You won't find that in a Squidge Rugby video, I'm telling you.
No.
I don't know. You do realise that we just steal all of our analysis from podcasts like this. So that will come up in a video in the next couple of weeks.
Can you imagine Gatland calling Thomas Williams at the office going, "Look, we've identified, your work ons and you need to shave the moustache." Like, can you just imagine saying that? Like,
it's why I find it so much harder to analyse the women's game, because you can't point out players' moustaches at all.
Yeah. It's a fair point, though, isn't it?
Anyway, and the other thing, Falatau's hair. I mean, what the fuck is going on? How old is he now? I mean, nobody that age has bleached their hair mid-season, for fuck's sake.
He looks like a member from E17, doesn't he? Like, he's gone back to the 90s big time, Falatau, haven't he?
He'd be wearing his basketball boots with a tongue out and all of that kind of stuff, now, wouldn't he? So that's the serious side of Cardiff done then.
Just say one thing about Cardiff before we move on.
No.
Kieran Asarati. No, you like this. You will like this. Kieran Asarati, Corey Domacheski are proper scrummaging props, and they have done really well. Now, I don't know what their contract status is, but they need to keep hold of both next season.
You know what?
I mean, Harry's not getting
Belcher. If we can just get Belcher to throw in, we've got a fabulous regional front row there. Like I think
he's done well, Belcher.
From nowhere to dominate.
Well, Rhys Carey can't make the team now. He's not making the start in 15. And you go wonder how's that going to affect with his Wales place. And I've been
worst
really
case scenario, a good second choice front row, haven't you? Worst case scenario,
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off there, Jamie.
No, you're right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been really impressed with him. After that, Dion Domacheski, I just wanted to give him a good shout out. That's all.
No, absolutely. Yeah, well,
definitely. Yeah. No, both coming to form.
But I think somebody needs to check the lines on the Cardiff training pitch, because when your hookers are throwing in, they're definitely not throwing to your side. I reckon you've got wonky lines somewhere. The amount of lineouts that your boys have fucked up this season.
All season.
I remember going through it early season, and I remember you going, we just need a fucking hooker that can throw straight. and now we've got one game left, and your main problem is you haven't got a hooker that can fucking throw into the lineup. But
I'll tell you what, next season you're going to look at Christian Dacey's going to grow like a goatee, and then suddenly he'll become the best hooker in the world.
And he'll have his long flowing locks back as well.
There we go.
That's the secret.
One season he was, I think I can't remember if he remains, but one season I think he was one of our top try scorers, Christian Dacey. it was a really poor season, and we weren't scoring many tries from the outside back. Yeah,
but, scored our only try that season. Yeah.
He played for Wales, Christian Dacey, didn't he? He did have Wales caps, and that blows my mind. It's the same with Matthew Squidge. You know, he actually played for Wales, and it's just certain players.
The Matthew Squidge game never happened. That never happened.
It's a trauma response.
Right, let's before we move on to Judgment Day, then, gents. Before we move on to Judgment Day, so we're gonna do. Let's try and tell people what we're gonna do before Judgment Day. But we haven't quite sorted it out ourselves yet. So we're going to try and do like a Facebook Live kind of chat from somewhere in Cardiff, stone cold sober, I will say, before the game. All right, I'll be stone cold sober because I'm driving. But
fair enough. Okay.
Yeah. So it'll probably be in a pub somewhere, but it may work, it may not, and we may completely balls it up, but yeah, go over to our Facebook page, like our Facebook page, and then we'll, as we know when and where we're doing it on Saturday, we'll post stuff out, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, fuck it, we gave it a go.
It's not going to work, is it? Even though you're saying it now, I just know it's not going to work.
We got production values as high as us. Yeah.
I can see me being the only sober one sat down in the bay. Carwyn's gone for a swim. You've nicked someone's fucking jet ski, and Reese is knocking on the centre door going, "Let me in, you bastards, let me in." And I go, "Yeah, we're doing a Facebook Live from Cardiff." But yeah.
Well, look, I'm not being funny. I'm watching the Dragons. I always drink heavily when I watch the Dragons. It's the only thing that gets me through the game. So, you know, I don't know what kind of state I'll be in. Imagine if we win now. Oh, fucking hell. If we win before the party.
Well, let's do our assessment for Judgment Day. Is it, I mean, you said last week, Jamie, that you know, Dragon Scarlet is a dead rubber. Is it?
Yes, it is.
I think it's got a bit of bite.
But what's there to play for? Dragons can't finish any higher than 15. Scarlet's got nothing to play for. They're out of contention of the Welsh Shield. When you compare it to the other game, Cardiff Ospreys, there is generally something on the line there, isn't it? That's the Welsh Shield and Champions Cup qualification. Our game, I'm afraid, Lee, is dead rubber. But that's what, in some ways, that may make it a good thing because there's no pressure. Teams just go out there, put on a show, chuck a ball about. Let's just see what happens, isn't it? You know,
East versus West, isn't it?
Well, my theory is that our game earlier in the season got a little bit tasty, and there were a couple of issues in that game that, all right, Moriarty's left now, but there were a couple of issues in that game that kind of got a bit, you know, there was a bit of edge in that game. There was a couple of bits left over from previous Judgment Days where we should have won and you did. So do you know what I mean? There's a little bit of underlying kind of niggle. There's a lot of Scarlet's players gone to Dragons. I think Dragons have got, and I've said this a couple of times, I think the Dragons have got a decent game in them. I think they're just going to pull one out that's just going to go, where the hell was that all the rest of the season? And I am genuinely nervous that I think Scarlets are going to go, right, okay, we'll hold back because we want to, you know, like I say, it's a dead rubber or whatever, and we're going to play against Glasgow the week after, and that's the key game or whatever. Yeah, I'm nervous, and I think
what do you think the approach will be then from Dwayne Peel? Because let's be honest, all eyes are on you for the Scarlets, aren't they? Yeah. Is he going to go full strength? Because if I was Dwayne Peel, I'd be quite tempted to just rest a couple of key boys because I think, well, this is dead rubber, nothing to play for. It's against the Dragons, you know. Why not just not make 9-10 changes, but just rest a couple of key players? How do you think he's going to approach it? Do you think Scarlets are going to go full strength?
I do. Sorry, no, I think they'll rest the same. Yeah, because like I say, there were 11 changes for Glasgow away. I wouldn't be surprised if there's not many key players come back in. Maybe if Dan Davis comes back from injury, he's a player I'd want to bring back in. We haven't seen much of Ken Owens since the end of the Six Nations, so maybe he's due a bit of a run out before the Glasgow game. But yeah, I can't see.
I think you're right. I think it's one of those where the positions where you do have depth, that's where you make the most of it, isn't it? There's certain positions where you'd maybe go, like the front row, they can't do too much tinkering with, But I think there are areas where you can, like scrum half, you've got like 3 or 4 of them who are ready to go. You can rotate that. You've got at 10, you could give Patchell a game, you could give Dan Jones a game. It doesn't really matter that much, or Costello or whoever. It doesn't matter too much, and I think you can afford to rotate certain positions. I think that's probably the angle that Peel will take.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I think we'll get shafted. I really do. Yeah.
What? Shut up.
Yeah, I do.
How much should that be if you had? Don't be silly. Playing the Dragons, man.
Yeah. What a bit.
Jamie gets really angry.
Oh, he's drunk quite a bit of it.
This is the most Welsh rugby thing I've ever seen. Two lads complaining, arguing with each other about who's going to lose the worst on the weekend. It's a great rivalry. Yeah, you're going to dick us. No, you're going to dick us.
And more than that, it's going to rain heavier on our side of the stadium as well.
Yeah. They're only going to close half the roof and then swap each side at half time.
What I would say, though, about this, though, Lee, when the Dragons have beaten the Scarlets, it's always been when they've been completely written off and not given any chance, like the last Judgment Day. I know that Scarlets had to win by a bonus point. It was expected they were going to do that. They didn't. And the season before with Dean Ryan in charge, we only won 1 game all season. Went to Park of Scarlets, we won. And then we won in the Rainbow Cup. So when we're completely written off, and Scarlets, sorry to rub it in, but this is part of me gives me hope. See, nobody's going to give Dragons any sort of chance. It's been a really tough season. I still think that this season's actually been better than last because we haven't won more games. It is a happier camp. I mean, under Dean Ryan, it was toxic, and the body language of the players. We have been more competitive. Maybe not recently, but over the course of the season. We have beaten good teams. We've beaten Ospreys, we've beaten Munster, but we just haven't been consistent enough. We've been a lot of near misses. Should have beaten Cardiff, should have been Pole, Lions. There's so many games, the Sharks, I can name where we could have and should have won. So maybe this is the one last opportunity to restore a bit of pride. And, if you're die flying, you just say to the players, just go out there and enjoy your lads. Just give it a crack and see what happens, isn't it?
So let's do a couple of predictions then for let's do Dragons Scarlets first, then we'll talk about Ospreys Cardiff. So Jamie, your prediction for Dragons against Scarlets?
Well, I hope it's a good game. We have got some players coming back, so we should have Steph Hughes back. Steph Hughes is a very important player to the Dragons. We've got Nairo Owen back in the centre. We should have Co Tompkinson back after he tried to take off Jack Walsh's head. So that's a boost. I can't see us beating Scarlets. I just can't. I think Scarlets are going to win I'm going to go Scarlets by 10. I think it'll be a good game. It'll be competitive, but I think Scarlets will have too much for us. And Scarlets by 10.
See, I love the way you do this every week. When we go predictions and you go and you start bigging up Newport, you go, and we're going to go this and these are coming back, and I think we're doing this well, and I think he's important, and that'll be, but we're still going to lose. you go
it's right the Dragon's way, isn't it? It's the Dragon's way.
It must be tough. It must be tough doing this.
Oh, well, you've got no idea, mate. It's an absolute slog. Every season's a slog. It's hard work.
So, Will, I've got Carwyn's kind of predictions in front of me. So you give me your prediction. I'll see how close you are to Carwyn, and whichever one suits us more, we'll keep.
That sounds good to me. I think you mentioning Steph Hughes being back there, I think is actually a bigger factor. I kind of hadn't considered that until you mentioned it, and think like he's so unbelievably good, and like him re-signing the other week just made me think, yep, he's sewn up the captaincy next season with Blacker signing and Roger Williams getting the number 21 shirt, but yeah, I think so, and I'm not saying this because you did, Jamie, the figure I had in mind was Scarlets by 10, and I'm not basing that at all on form of either team or anything logical. It's just like, we've done this enough times and seen the Dragons have a good first half, then shit the bed in the second, and I can only really see it going that way, unfortunately. Sorry, Jamie.
No, you've literally just described the season. That's pretty much how it's been. Shit in the bed is a great description of the Dragon season. Yeah. Can't disagree with that.
Gonna put that on your T-shirt, mate. Dragon.
I was just about to say that's got to be a T-shirt, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be somewhere. So Carwyn's prediction is Scarlets by 16. So he's come to his senses at last. Reese, what have you got for Dragon Scarlets, mate?
Yeah, I think the Scarlets game against Glasgow, even though they lost, showed they got a lot of fight, and they're playing at a different level of form at the moment. So I'm going to go Scarlets by 15.
15. Okay. And I just, given history, given all of the other stuff,
I was very nervous about this.
I am, mate. I've been nervous about this since like Christmas, and it's I don't know why, it's just not sitting right with me. I'm gonna go Dragons by 5. And
whoa,
yeah,
typical bias that though, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think that's the only game all season where I think I predicted Scarlets to lose by 1 point away to Leinster. And so I think I'm predicting our heaviest defeat of the season.
You got it half right.
Yeah. It was close. Right. So let's talk Ospreys Cardiff. I mean, it's what a depressing start to the match. I mean, who can come from the worst position the week before and try and turn in a game? Do you know what I mean? What are you boys expecting from this game?
More. I'm expecting more. I'm expecting more of those bits against Connacht. When we show we can put some stuff together in the backs and the forwards and show a bit of grunt. And I'm expecting more of that. We have to against what really is like a sort of a bigger Ospreys pack. Like from a Cardiff point of view, I think we could definitely do it. It just if everything goes right, which is unlikely to, that they've probably got a better throwing in ratio at hooker than we got. So I'm going to be a blind optimist, and I'm going to go Cardiff by 5.
Cardiff by 5. Okay. I would say on that about throwing in, my under 7s have got a better ratio of throwing in straight, and they don't do lineouts, but they can throw a line out in straight better than most of your guys can. So good luck on that one.
I just want to watch my daughter play football and like throwing in from the sideline. And you think to yourself, that's a big.
Can't be that difficult. Will, what do you reckon for Ospreys Cardiff, mate?
Again, like very little of it is kind of based on form and stuff, but I just believe in Toby Booth's ability to back up what happened last week and kind of turn it around. So I don't think the Ospreys will play exceptionally well, and I don't think they'll get that bonus point that they're after. But I can see them just denying Cardiff one, and it being one of those games where they just have to get through it. So I'm going to go Ospreys by 8.
Wow, that is freaky, because I've got Carwyn's in front of me, and Carwyn is Ospreys by 8. Now, that's freaky, that is, guys. And that's nothing to do with the beer. That's just, two of them.
Dowie Lake hat-trick is coming.
I'm impressed.
Jamie, Ospreys Cardiff, what have you got, mate?
I'm going to go Cardiff by 8. I just got a feeling they're gonna. I got no real reasoning why, or logic why I think Cardiff, but I do feel Cardiff will win this and they'll win the Welsh Shield. But I was thinking about this game. So this is quite a big game. There's a lot riding on it. We know it's the Welsh Shield and entry into the Champions Cup. But I'm just wondering, do the teams really want to be qualifying for the Champions Cup, knowing the budgets and the squad cuts, right? Because this is a really interesting point. I put this on Twitter the other day. Like I said, our budgets are going to go down to like 4.5 million in the next couple of seasons. I don't think any of our teams are going to be equipped for the Champions Cup. And I actually think our teams are probably better off in the Challenge Cup because we got more chance of success. Cardiff have shown that because they've won it twice previously. The Scarlets has rejuvenated their season being in the Challenge Cup. And they've got a home semi-final to look forward to now. And there's a buzz around the Scarlets now. It's nearly, fans are really looking forward to this game. And Lauren Jenkins said to James Hook about this on Scrum 5. He was like, oh, yeah, that's very negative because they were talking about Toby Booth's comments. I'm paraphrasing you, but he said something like, be careful what you qualify for. And, we've all got worries about being at the top end. And he was saying, yeah, it's very negative. Players go on and compete at the top end of the table. And then the next thing, he's like, yeah, but you look at the Scarlets and the Challenge Cup has rejuvenated this season and they're playing really well. So it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because with Cardiff, all the cuts and players that they've got coming to them, how competitive are they going to be for the Champions Cup? And it sounds like Toby Booth is like, well, I don't think I really want to be in the Champions Cup. I just thought that was quite an interesting. What do you think about that then, Will? Do you think, obviously, it's better to be in the Champions Cup, or is it better for our teams with all the cuts and, the changes coming into Welsh Rugby? We know how difficult it's going to be competitive. Are we all just better off in the Challenge Cup? What do you make of that?
I think it's a really interesting angle on it because, as you say, being in the Champions Cup isn't as simple as, your season's exactly the same except you're playing a better standard of rugby. It's not that simple as you say. There are kind of other implications that come off the back of that. But I would have agreed with you entirely, and for 3/4 of the regions, I think I do. But given how the Ospreys did in the Champions Cup this season, I think that they will have a genuine hunger to back that up and go one further and see if they can, get to a quarterfinal or, dare to dream for a semi. And I think that yeah, brilliant. I think generally it's been the case for the last few years when any Welsh region plays in Champions Cup, there's a part of you when you watch it where you go, yeah, but we're not going to win it, are we? You know what's going to happen here. Yeah. Are we almost wasting our time a little bit? Whereas the Challenge Cup, it does give you an opportunity to kind of, blood some depth and give certain players who may usually be second choice in the league an opportunity to play away in France and do stuff that they wouldn't normally do before and have that pressure put on them. And there was an analogy that Toby Booth used earlier in this season where I can't remember which game it was, but at one stage he said, the game we have on the weekend, and it was like a league game, like away in Benetton or something. I might pull that on my arse, but yeah. There was, and he said, this is the cup final for our second team. So we're going to rotate our entire starting 15 and treat that as a cup final, and then they'll have a few weeks rest. And I like the thought that certain teams could use the Challenge Cup as that kind of thing. As, we've got certain lads who are on the brink of the first team, and they're going to really, really take this seriously. So there's definite benefits to being in the Challenge Cup. That's for certain.
I just wonder, though, with the Champions Cup next year, say, for example, the Ospreys did qualify for the Champions Cup. I mean, you've lost Joe Hawkins, you could potentially lose Nicky Smith, Rhys Webb and others. So maybe it would be harder to repeat the heroics that Ospreys, and they were brilliant, beating Montpellier home and away, going to Welfare Leicester. It would be harder to back that up with the cuts and the budgets coming down, which is my point. I'm not saying don't have any Welsh teams in the Champions Cup. I'm just saying that maybe with the changes coming in and how difficult things are going to be in Welsh Rugby, maybe, just maybe, we might be better off.
I think it's a really good
Challenge Cup. It's an interesting debate.
You make a point, the Nicky Smith thing, weirdly, so much hangs on that. Because all of the Ospreys' huge European performances, he was right at the heart of it. And whether he's going elsewhere and he's going to, potentially get far in Europe, at Saracens or wherever it is that he's currently linked with, I think a lot does actually swing on that. So, you make a good point.
My fear would be going up to the top table with these sort of diminished and having the sort of Tonkins, the Glasgow gave you the other week. Like, do you mean it's
all right? Don't rub it in. Fuck
I'm
off.
not rubbing it in.
I know what you mean. No, I know what you're saying. I would worry.
We'd see more of that. Like,
I gotta be honest. I would worry more for Cardiff if you got through, because we know there's a shitload of players leaving Cardiff. We know they're in financial difficulty. You know, they've been offering 30k contracts to players. We know problems about Cardiff. I mean, none of the regions are in particularly good health, but you know what I mean. I think for Cardiff especially, and if you're drawn in a really tough group, I mean, imagine having to go to like La Rochelle, Leinster, Munster, and you're playing with kids. Essentially, you've lost all your best players. It's going to be so difficult, isn't it? Great away trips for the supporters now, but to be competitive, because we want to see our teams be competitive. This is what I'm saying. You know, is it better to have a good run in the Challenge Cup where you know you can have a bit of success? Yeah, you might play one or two bum teams, but you know at the business end of the tournament you're going to play some good teams. Or do you go into the Champions Cup and get tonked and get, you know, an early exit, meekly exit tournament, and you get completely forgotten about? Because it has turned around the Scarlet season, the Challenge Cup. It's been a big part of their, you know, their rejuvenation, isn't it, Lee?
For sure.
Yeah. And see, with all there was a whole load of really intelligent, deep conversation there about real detailed rugby stuff. And in my head, I'm still laughing at Will saying I'm dreaming of a semi. And,
we're banning you from that
You've got to lower the tone, haven't you? We're having a proper serious rugby debate, and you've got to lower the tone.
I had to hold it in. I couldn't.
I know.
Stop myself laughing.
As soon as he said those, we all knew what you were laughing about.
Scarlet fans are pathetic, and they? A lot of them. Bloody pathetic.
You've well and truly put my arse up my head there.
Can you call the podcast the episode this week? Can you call it that?
Got a whole range of titles for this week.
That's got to be the title of this week's podcast.
Flip a coin, it's that or Dreaming of a Semi.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, anyway, right. So my prediction for Cardiff and Ospreys.
God.
Oh dear. Oh fuck it. I'm gonna go Cardiff by 10. I
love it.
Yeah. I got no. Again, it's gonna be tight and boring, and then there'll be a couple of minutes where there'll be a couple of interceptions or a knock on or something stupid like that, and then somebody will run the length of the pitch, and everyone will go, "Yeah, that's amazing." And then we can all abuse Reece Webb then after.
Sounds good to me. What do you reckon, Will?
Yes.
Perfect outcome.
If Dragons and Cardiff win, it's going to be the best podcast next week, Lee.
Well, so talking on, so prediction league, yeah. So I just want to, here is something that does actually depend now on Judgment Day, right? So we've been doing our little predictions league as we've been going along, and we're down to one game, okay? And we've had a change at the top of the table. So after last week's games, I overtook Reece at the top of the table. So I've got 60 points. Reece has got 57. Jamie, you're on 55. And Carwin is a fucking mile away. He's on 45 points. So between the three of us, it's quite close at the top. So I've got a total points variance of 245. Jamie, you got 248. And Reece, you got 245 as well. Carwin's got 309. That's how far out Carwin's predictions have been. So not only do we have Judgment Day, but we've also got, you know, some real serious stuff with our prediction league at the last game of the season. So it all comes down to that, boys, you know? All comes down to that.
This is exciting stuff. I can't contain myself. I'm buzzing. Ever since you said
more
that.
exciting than the ORC itself, I'd say.
Oh, I know. I just don't know. I'm going to be thinking about this all week like this.
Well, if you're looking for something to numb your feelings, I've got a can of 8% beer. That seems to do the job for me, mate. Right. Will, it's been a pleasure having you, mate.
It's a pleasure being here. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Yeah, so much better than your brother. You can tell him. You know?
I know.
Say that.
I know. Yeah, you can. Say it again.
Yeah. But if you are around in Cardiff on Saturday, we'll you want to come on the Facebook Live, we'll give you a shout, and that'd be cool to see. We could do like just grabbing famous people as they walk past, can we? You're just like shouting them down, and no, actually you'll be pissed, won't you, James? Carwyn will be pissed. There's a strong chance that Reese will be half cut as well, so yeah, Reese will be on his baby sham.
Yeah. It's as bad as I thought it would be. Yeah.
Right. Cheers for tonight. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Cheers, boys. Appreciate it.
Wish you
Cheers,
all
Will.
the best.
Been a lot of fun.
And on that note, gents, we are done. We're down to the last game of the season. It's all down to Judgment Day. Let's hope it's a good one. Enjoy your rugby. We shall catch up with everyone on Saturday in person, very first time. All four of us in person. Yay.
Wow. Nice one, guys. See you all on Saturday.
Yeah. See you then, gents.
Cheers.
Ta-ra.
All the best, boys. Ta-ra.
Ta-ra.
Thank you for listening to the Rap Podcast. We hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed recording it. Please do rate us and tell your friends, as it really helps us to grow and get better. We'll be back next week with more of the same, and until then, enjoy your rugby.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.